So I just finished a project using Whalesync, and I want to show you a few situations where Whalesync wails. Let's dive in. So there's a few use cases where Whalesync really shines. And the first use case is a simple data migration. So if you're trying to go get data from Airtable and bring it into Webflow, Whalesync can be a great tool. If you're not trying to set up a forever two-way sync, you just need to quickly get a bunch of data from one place to the other. It's great. I particularly like this for rich text fields. In Webflow, they're stored as HTML. In Airtable, they're stored as Markdown. And Whalesync will do that conversion for you, so you still get that nice rich text field when you're moving it from one place to the other. If you were to export a CSV file from either of these places and bring it to the other tool, you won't get that nice formatting. So Whalesync does some nice things when it comes to modifying the data as it's sending it back and forth between tools. The other situation where Whalesync shined was when I let it sync all of my data. So I have an Airtable base with a bunch of different tables, and Whalesync was keeping all of that in sync between my collections and my Airtable base. It didn't matter if these were independent tables or if I had linked records between my tables or a view of one table that was then only syncing one way. As long as Whalesync could get its arms around all the data, it did a really good job of keeping everything in sync. As you'll see here, I've kind of noted it with my diagram. You can sync views of your data. So if you've got posts and some of them are in progress, but then some of them you want to set to live, and so you've got a different view of your live posts, you can just sync that live view. When you do that though, then the data only goes one way. You can't sync data back to that table if you're syncing it to a view. So those are the two situations where it really shined, where I was just doing a quick migration, or if I was letting Whalesync get its arms around all my data. The situation where Whalesync had some trouble keeping everything in sync was when I was getting more complex with my Airtable setup. So for example, I've got a base, I'm syncing a view. Some of the tables I didn't want to sync because the data wasn't changing that often, but then I've got another table that's actually a synced base from an external, from another Airtable base. That Airtable base actually has some scripts set up to push updates to Webflow. And so you can see that I was really trying to just do a little bit. I just wanted Whalesync to sync this one bit of information from this base, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on. So you can see how it would be hard for a tool to keep everything in sync when there's so much else going on. So I struggled with this a little bit, where I was trying to just use Whalesync to sync just little bits of information, and it was getting tripped up and it couldn't keep everything in sync. What I ended up doing was kind of reworking my Airtable, choosing Whalesync for the situations where it made most sense and I could kind of encapsulate all the data inside of Whalesync. So keep that in mind. If you're doing anything that's complex with synced bases, you're syncing some things but not other things, one-way syncs, two-way syncs, you might run into some situations where Whalesync has trouble keeping everything in sync. Hopefully that was helpful, and you now have a better understanding of where Whalesync can really fit into your workflow and your process, and how you can set up your Airtable to make sure that you don't step on any rakes. So with that, thanks for watching this video. Please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you at the next tutorial.